Welcome to part 2 of the Pena Effects Pane tutorial. In part 1 we described how to use the Effects Pane and basically the controls that you use to put effects in here, reorganize the effects, remove the effects, save and load the effects. In this tutorial we're going to examine exactly how to put effects together and what color 1 and color 2 mean and how to use them when you're creating your effects. Let's start out by checking our brush, making sure we have a nice size to work with. We do. And we've already loaded some textures. We've got our Arches National Park photo in texture slot 1. We've loaded our sailboat into texture slot 2. And let's go create a simple program. We'll go into the Effects Pane and I'll load a pre-saved program that I've created for this tutorial. And our program is very simple. It's going to access texture number 1, and again texture number 1 is our Arches National Park texture, and it's going to tint it. It's going to change the color of texture number 1. So let's see exactly how this works. Texture number 1 is going to come in and replace whatever is in color 1. Now if we look, color 1 is white. So as we enter the effects, white and color 2, black, will be entering in from the top. It's going to hit color effect number 1, which is our texture slot number 1. And we see that the texture will now replace color 1. So the white color will now be replaced with the texture for every point in the picture. We can see that color 2 is ignored, so black will continue to pass from texture 1 straight through. So let's turn off all of our effects a minute and see what happens when we paint. And we're painting with white. And that's because color 1 is going into the system, being passed completely through, and color 1 is what is always drawn to the screen. Well, now let's turn on our texture and see what happens when we paint. Here we've replaced color 1 with the actual texture, and you can see we are painting the photo from our texture library. So again, color 1 comes in. The texture effect says, no, override color 1 with the texture, and color 1 is replaced by the output of this effect. So now we have the texture entering slot effect number 2. Slot number 2 is a tint, and it's found in the color filters. And if we look at the options, there's many options in here. We can pull the hue, saturation, and brightness and put them into the other color. So here we're saying take the hue, which is the tint, from color 2 and apply it to color 1. We could also do the saturation, we can also swap them. All sorts of things we can do in there, but we're only interested in tinting. So let's go ahead and flood our screen, and we're flooding it with just texture number 1 because slot number 2 is turned off here. And since tint tells us that it's going to take the color from color 2, the hue from color 2, and apply it to color 1, we need to put something in color 2. Color 2 right now is black. It wouldn't do us very good to tint black, so let's pick another color. Let's pick yellow. So now if we look at our effect, we can see, we'll turn on our tint, we can see that color 1 is white, color 2 is yellow. White enters the system and yellow enters the system. White gets changed to texture 1, and then the color, the hue from color 2 will be used to modify that texture, and it will replace color 1 as it passes through. So what happens now as we paint is we're painting with our texture, but you can see that it's tinted. In painting, and you can see how the tint of the rock and everything we paint on is now changed, and we'll go ahead and flood the screen. So again, in this simple example, color 1 was replaced by the texture, color 2 was used to modify that color 1's tint. What happens if we place something else in here? For example, what happens if we add a brand new effect in between these two, something like a 4-color gradient. We'll go to procedurals, we'll pick our 4-color gradient, and we'll tell it that it should output on color 2. To do that very easily, I can just click one of these little circles on the left and it swaps those color outputs. It's a very quick way to do that. So now we have the texture originally coming in on 1 as it was. Now we have a 4-color gradient on color 2. So in this case, both the white and the yellow are being ignored. And the 4-color gradient will be used to tint the texture. We're going to go ahead and flood the screen with this. And you can see that our 4-color gradient has now been used to create a tint and applied it to the original texture. Again, we can take another example. Instead of a 4-color gradient, we'll go to Color Sources and pick a texture. We have 2 textures loaded. And in this case, we'll say we want texture number 2, which is our sailboat. And again, swap it so it's on the second channel, color 2. Again, flood our screen, and we'll take the hue from the boat and apply it to the arch's picture, giving us something interesting and unusual. But again, you can see how colors can be passed through as a solid, as a texture, as a gradient, as any other type of effect. Something in color 1, something in color 2, modify them so that you output to color 1, and that's what's finally drawn to the screen. Let's clear our screen and try a much more complex example. Let's go ahead and load our next example into the system. You'll see that this one is very, very complex. Has many effects, starts with a 2-color gradient and vertical stripes, color difference, a color save, 4-color gradient, horizontal stripes, another color difference, a color restore, and another color difference. So this is 9 total effects. And we're going to start out by showing you what the end result is, and then we'll show you how it was built up. The basic effect we're trying to get here is a woven mat, a colorful woven mat effect. So we want to have horizontal and vertical stripes that appear to be woven together and color introduced into them. Let's go ahead and flood the screen with our program. Take a look at it. So here we can see our horizontal and vertical stripes. They are colorful, and they do indeed appear to be somehow woven together. So how do we create such a complex effect as this? Let's go look at our program. The very first thing we have, and let's go ahead and turn everything off in here so we can see what we're working with. I should probably put a function here to make that easier, huh? Okay, the first thing we have is a 2-color gradient. Let's go ahead and flood our screen with that. We'll take a look at it here. We see the first color is white, second color is black. It's a vertical gradient, and it's replacing color 1. We'll preview it so we can see what it looks like, and there's our gradient. So that's what's in the first slot, and that's going to replace color 1. Now what we want to do is we want to somehow introduce our stripes. So we're going to do vertical stripes first. Let's go ahead and clear our screen. And we can take a look at this. You'll see that we're taking our stripe color from 1, our back color from color 2. And we should probably go in and set our back color. We'll leave it the way it is. And we're outputting the result in color 2. Now if we want to see what this result would be, let's go ahead and output to color 1 because we can only see what's drawn to the screen and preview the program. And we can see here that we have our vertical stripes, and there is our, in the background between the vertical stripes is our horizontal gradient. If we wanted to just preview this effect, just the vertical stripes, there are just the vertical stripes. So let's go ahead and replace color 2. So basically at this point in time, color 1 is going to have the 2-color gradient, color 2 is going to have these vertical stripes in it. Now we're going to introduce a color difference. And what color difference does is it looks at color 1 and it looks at color 2 and it subtracts them from each other. But it does so in whatever way would produce a positive result. It'll either subtract color 1 from color 2 or color 2 from color 1. It doesn't matter, whatever way produces the positive result. And if we look at the options, we're going to difference all 3 color guns, and we're going to output the result on color 1. So we'll preview the program, and we can now see our vertical lines have been combined with the gradient and color 1 and color 2 to produce that effect. Now, what do we have at the end of this? We now have a new color 1, which has got part of our woven mat. We're going to have to do the same thing to produce the horizontal part of it. However, in order to produce this vertical portion, we had to use both color 1 and color 2, and we now have our result in color 1. We can't do the same thing to make the horizontal portion because it'll wipe out our color 1. What we really need here is a color 3, but there is no color 3 on the control pane. Instead, what we have is an effect called color save. Color save is under the Math and Logic effects, and if we look at it, our options say save color 1, ignore color 2. So basically what color save is going to do is say take color 1 and hide it somewhere right now. And once this is done, we can now use color 1 and color 2 for whatever we want to again. So at this point, the results of the above 3 effects have been effectively saved. So let's look at our next effects. We have a 4-color gradient, and let's take a look at what that looks like. It's going into color 1. We'll preview the effect, and there's our 4-color gradient. We have horizontal stripes, and like you would expect, it's going into color 2. Let's flip that around so we can see it. Preview the effect, and there are horizontal stripes, just like we saw with the vertical. Let's go ahead and put that back to replace color 2. And again, our color difference. This is exactly what we did in the first set, except we're using a 4-color instead of a 2-color, and we're using horizontal stripes instead of vertical. Do our color difference. No changes there. We're replacing color 1. Take a look at the effect now, and we can see that we've got pretty much our final result. The difference is it's not completely woven. It doesn't look woven yet. So let's clear that out. And the reason for that is we have not yet combined in our final colors. We've only replaced color 1. So here's our color restore. Remember that color we saved into a temporary color 3 slot. We're now going to get it back out. We're going to say restore that save color, and specifically I want to restore temp 1 to 2, and we stored that in temporary position 1. I want that taken out and put into color 2. So basically our saved color 1 from the first 3 effects are now going to be in color 2. Color 1 has our second set of 3 effects, and we're going to again apply a color difference and paint the screen. And you can see now we get our much more integrated woven effect with the lines and the crossovers appearing properly. So this is how you use color 1 and color 2, make some effects go into color 1, some effects go into color 2, combine those, always producing a color 1, and you also have that ability to use the save and restore to make even a 3rd color available so that you can use both channels to make incredibly complex effects. And that's the end of this tutorial.